Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This is Alexandria Ashcroft. If you are new, welcome. Come on in. Let's hang out. I am a romance author, just so you know, like where I'm coming from. Or that's weird. I just smacked my table. Anyway, yeah. So today I'm going to be doing a little book review and sharing with you guys my favorite, all-time favorite, been my favorite for quite a bit of time favorite book. So let's just get right into it. I don't know why I'm being so extra right now, but I am. So anyway, The Raven Prince by Elizabeth Hoyt is my all-time favorite book. It is a historical romance novel set in the Regency period in London, and I love it. I just think she did a fabulous job of like capturing the male and female MC's connection and like the tension in their relationship, and gets a little steamy, of course, because well, it wouldn't be me if my favorite book wasn't steamy, right? That just doesn't make any sense at all to me. Forgive my face, it's doing the most right now. I'm going to read the back blurb to you guys, and then I'm going to read one of my favorite little excerpts from the book, and forgive me because it gets a little intense. There comes a time in a lady's life when she must do the unthinkable and find employment. Widowed Anna Ryn is having a wretched day. After an arrogant male on horseback nearly squashes her, she arrives home to learn that she is in dire financial straits. The Earl of Swardingham is in a quandary. Having frightened off 2 secretaries, Edward de Roff needs someone who can withstand his bad temper and boorish behavior. When Anna becomes the Earl's secretary, it would seem that both their problems are resolved. Then she discovers he plans to visit the most notorious brothel in London for his manly needs. Well, Anna sees red and decides to assuage her womanly desires with the Earl as her unknowing lover. Of course, you know there has to be some shenaniganism and a whole bunch of just amazing writing and storytelling. Yeah, the first romance novel that I ever read was actually called The Pirate Prince by Galen Foley, and I've read other works by her, other historical Regency romances by her as well, and they're really great. Somewhere along that beautiful journey of discovery, I found this book, The Raven Prince by Miss Elizabeth Hoyt, and I love it. It's my favorite. So I am going to read my little passage because I'm blabbling now. Okay, here we go. So this is like farther along in the book, and I don't think I'm going to read anything out that's of interest. This is just kind of a really intimate moment after. So reading the description, you know that she ends up shacking up with him and he doesn't know that it's her. So this is happening after he finds out that it's her, because you know he's got to find out, because it's the drama, you know, it's the drama. I remember your uncle, the Duke of Arlington, was similarly stubborn on the issue of swine breeding. Indeed, some say his final apoplectic fit was the result of a too heated discussion about farrowing pins. Do you find it hot in here? Anna hadn't gotten as far as writing hot when she realized that the last question was directed at her. She glanced up in time to see him discard his coat. No, the room seems most temperate. Her tentative smile froze as Edward drew off his neckcloth. I'm overly warm, he said. He unbuttoned his waistcoat. What are you doing? Anna squealed. Dictating a letter? He arched his eyebrows in a parody of innocence. You're disrobing. No, I would be disrobing if I removed my shirt, Edward said, doing just that. Edward, my dear, put your shirt back on this instant, Anna hissed. Why? Do you find my torso offensive? Edward leaned nonchalantly against his desk. Yes, Anna winced at his expression. No, put your shirt back on. You sure you're not repulsed by my scars? He leaned closer, his fingers trailing across the marks on his upper chest. Her eyes helplessly followed his hypnotic hand before she snapped her gaze away. A scathing reply teetered on the edge of her tongue. She was stopped by Edward's studied ease. The question was clearly important to the impossible man. She sighed. I don't find you repulsive at all, as well you know. Then touch me.
Was that over the top? I can never tell.
Edward. Do it, he whispered. I need to know. He caught her hand and pulled her to stand in front of him. Anna looked into his eyes, struggling between propriety and the desire to reassure him. The true problem was, of course, that she wanted to touch him too much. He waited. She raised her hand, hesitated, then touched. Her palm rested trembling on the juncture of Edward's throat and chest, just where she could feel the implacable beat of his heart. I am such a sappy sucker. This is so beautiful. I'm being serious right now. And joking a little bit too, but being so serious. I'm laughing at my own ridiculousness. Like, I really love stories like this. Something's wrong with me, I don't know. His eyes seemed to darken impossibly to a deeper shade of black as he stared at her. Her own breast labored to fill with air as her hand glided down over a firm muscle. She could feel the indentations of the pockmarks, and she paused to circle one gently with her middle finger. His eyelids fell as if weighted. She moved to another scar and traced it as well. She watched her own hand and thought about the long-ago pain these scars represented. The pain to a young boy's body and the pain to his soul. The room was quiet, save for the whisper of their mutual strained breaths. She never explored a man's chest in such minute detail. It felt too good, sensual, more intimate in some ways than the act of sex itself. Her gaze flicked to his face. His lips were parted, wet where he'd run his tongue over them. Obviously, he was as affected as she. The knowledge that her mere touch had that kind of power over him sparked her own arousal. Her hand encountered the black, curling hair on his chest. It was damp with perspiration. She slowly furrowed her fingers into the tangle, watching as the wisps curled around her fingertips as if to hold her. She could smell his masculine essence rising with the heat of his body. Now, I can never tell in these Regency romances. So when they talk about male musk, if they're really just talking about somebody needing to take a bath, I'm not sure. I don't know. She swayed forward, drawn by a force beyond her will. His chest hair tickled her lips. She buried her nose in his warmth. His chest moved jerkily now. She opened her mouth and exhaled. Her tongue crept forward to taste the salt on his skin. One of them, maybe both, moaned. Her hands clutched at his sides, and she could dimly feel his arms urging her closer. Her tongue continued to explore, tickling hair, tangy sweat, the corrugation of a male nipple, the salt of her own tears. She found that her eyes were leaking slowly, tears dripping down her face and mingling with the moisture on Edward's body. It made no sense, but she couldn't stop the tears any more than she could stop her body from yearning for this man, or her heart from loving him. Okay, maybe that was a bit too much for to have somebody else read to you, but this is the kind of intimacy that I love to see in the stories that I read, that sort of intimacy, and it's just beautiful. She was inspired when she wrote that. I don't know, what do you guys think? There's something wrong with me. I got my tea here. This is my favorite teacup I got from my mama. Okay. I don't know why I just did that. It just happened. It's so cold. My tea is so cold. It's been sitting there for a really long time. I love it. I love The Raven Prince. I think it's a beautiful story. And the male character, he's like tall and has dark features, but he also has like scars. So he's like handsome, but like scarred handsome. I love a good scar. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? You like a good scar? I like a good scar in my male MCs. I'm not gonna lie. There's something about a scar. It tells a story, right? It's okay. I'm gonna stop. I'm babbling now. Yeah, if you loved this type of video where I am reading to you, which is, I don't know if it's weird. Maybe, is it weird? Let me know. It might be a little weird. Having somebody read, especially like a really intimate part. Let me know if you think this was a little too much. And maybe I'll try to pick a part that isn't so intimate. But that was like my favorite. I seriously go back and read that part of the story periodically, like a few times a year. Like I come back to that specific part of the story. Like, so on that note, please follow me on all my socials. I am everywhere. Check the description link. Instagram, Twitter. You can find my unedited drafts on Wattpad, so check that out. Yeah, take care.